the innocent. One way you can help is with your gift to keep AFA Action on the front lines in the battle for life. When you give, you'll also get free access to the Monica Kelsey story that details her mission to save abandoned newborns across America. Stop by afaaction.net today. afaaction.net.
Welcome to Today's Issues, offering a Christian response to the issues of the day. Here's your host, Tim Wildman, President of the American Family Association.
Is it Monday already?
It's Monday.
Wow. All right. Welcome, everybody, to Today's Issues on American Family Radio on this Monday, May the 6th, 2024. Ed Battagliano is with me. Good morning, Brother Ed.
Good morning.
Chris Woodward.
Good morning.
It's May 6th. You know what this is the anniversary of?
The Hindenburg disaster.
No, I don't know. I was hoping you knew.
May the 6th, what's the anniversary of? I know it's not mine.
That's
I know that much.
a married man. That's where your
I
mind
got
goes
that.
first.
No.
I was just
I don't
kidding.
know. You
I
don't
can-
nothing?
nothing.
I can tell you various things that happened
No,
on this
tell
day.
us, Chris, what happened on
The
this day in
Hindenburg
history?
disaster did occur on this day
Really?
in 1937. In
The
2004, the final episode of Friends aired. In 1998, Steve Jobs introduced Apple's first iMac. And the last episode of I Love Lucy aired on this day in 1957. Also, this got some BBC coverage a minute ago. Cue the Chariots of Fire theme. Roger Bannister of Britain became the first athlete to run a mile in less than 4 minutes on this day in 1954.
Wait a minute. I thought Jim Ryan did that in Kansas at a high school. It must have been the first high schooler to run sub-4. What was, you know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about?
4-minute mile.
Yeah, so that, but you said what now?
Roger Bannister of Britain became the first athlete to run a mile in less than 4 minutes.
What year?
1954. Also, Willie Mays was born on this day in Westfield, Alabama,
Is that right?
1931.
That's interesting. May 6th has its moments, doesn't it?
It does.
In history.
If for anybody that cares, Charles was crowned king last year on this day.
Oh, it was this day.
It's been a whole year.
All right, so you're right. Jim Ryan was the first high school athlete to run a mile in under 4 minutes. That was in 1964.
Okay,
So
First high
Bannister,
schooler. First high
Bannister was 1954.
right. I wonder what the record is now. Look at the high. What's the high school record? You talk about rabbit trailing. Here we go, people. Huh? That's what happens to your life when you're on the internet. Now you end up 30 minutes from now. If we kept on, we'd be reading about Kevin Bacon.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
how.
and
That's
where
exactly
where
how
he
it
grew
happened.
up. Who
That's-
his friends were.
That's why I stay away from YouTube videos before I go to bed, because all of a sudden you look up, it's 2
Yeah.
in the morning,
Yeah.
and you're watching an antelope trying to get away from a lion. You're thinking, how did I get here?
What, Chris? So what did you find out?
I found a CBS story from a couple of years ago, this
Uh-huh.
time, May 17th, 2022.
Uh-huh.
The headline is High School Student Runs Sub 4 Minute Mile, Breaking Record Set in 1965.
Okay. And that's outdoors, right?
Yes.
So, boy, you talk about there's a lot would depend on the conditions and
Yes.
the weather.
How humid it is,
Yeah.
or
A lot of things.
I don't know that I could run a
Under
5
4
minute mile if I saw a snake. I don't. My brother, I saw a snake when I was a kid. My brother was out front washing his truck, and he said that was the fastest he'd ever seen me run.
are you
Yeah.
afraid of snakes?
I don't, I'm not that person that can tell whether it's poisonous or good just by looking at it. So I assume every snake is poisonous.
I
And,
think that's a good assumption.
yeah.
It's a metaphor for life, really.
I on Facebook, I'm a part of this group. It's some Mississippi forum, snake forum, or whatever. I'm being serious here, because I wanted to be able to identify, and it's venomous snakes, not poisonous.
Yes.
Poisonous
Right,
is
right.
something you ingest.
Okay.
Venomous would be something that you're envenomated by a bite.
You get envenomated, though. That's, you know what I'm saying? That's hard to overcome right there.
If you're envenomated,
Yeah.
yes.
It's, you could evaporate.
Yeah.
You get a
Well,
point for that?
if after you're envenomated,
You can never
and
be
you
heard from
evaporate,
again.
That's right.
Sorry, honey. Your uncle was incinerated today, and we don't know what happened to him. He was like taken up into a spaceship or something. That's what they say they saw. See what I mean?
Yeah, I see. I probably should move on. I was going to.
No, go ahead. Tell us.
Well,
about
I was going to say, and I can tell the difference between, for the most part, non-venomous and venomous snakes now, like
how's that?
cottonmouth, or a copperhead or a coral snake.
We've had in the last 6 years, we've had only two times that we've had the water moccasins. The water cottonmouth.
Same
thing.
And water moccasin.
Aren't they about 3 feet long?
Well, they can get bigger.
Okay, but anyway, they were on our patio when we got home. And flipped on the light. Boom, there it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a long story there. I won't go into it.
But
caused injury.
I feel pretty confident I could identify one.
Okay.
So
you don't have to get too close.
My wife makes fun of me for this.
Right.
She says, "Oh, you can identify the," and I say,
Right.
"Listen, one day you're going to need me.
That's right.
Yeah.
You're going to need the city boy."
Kind of like storing up food.
That's like being a prepper.
Make fun of me now for being a prepper.
Yes.
When your electricity goes out for weeks, see whose door you're knocking on, right?
That's right.
Same
exactly.
way. Same way with
thing.
snakes. You're going to be glad I know what a poisonous
Right.
snake is one day. All right. We hope everybody had a nice weekend. Ed, you want to tell people how they can watch this here show?
Yeah, if you'd like to watch the live video stream, there are a number of ways you could do that. You can go to Facebook and search for Today's Issues. You can go to YouTube and search for Today's Issues Live, or you can go to our own streaming platform, stream.afa.net, stream.afa.net. I think you can also go to X, formerly known as Twitter.
Really? We're on there too?
And you can search for American Family Radio. And then whatever is currently playing, you can watch it on X,
We're on
formerly known as Twitter.
We're on multiple platforms
Absolutely.
out there. Okay. So check it out. Now, our own streaming service, which we obviously favor and prefer people access, that we changed the name there, didn't we?
Well, we did from streaming, the website, from streaming.afa.net to stream.afa.net. And we did change the name to AFA Stream.
Right.
And neither you nor I so that's two of the members of leadership. We don't have a clue as to why they did that. But somebody in the ministry
I
does.
wasn't in that meeting.
Yes.
Were you?
No, I was not.
You didn't get the Bitrix invite?
No.
No. And if it was a committee, I didn't want to be on it, honestly.
No.
Huh?
I'm with you.
Anyway.
They
All right.
probably didn't ask us because we are not technologically gifted.
Is that noticeable?
It is. And it is one of the reasons
is it obvious?
why we have not been envenomated. So
If somebody's not here on Friday, I'm going to assume they just
Envenomated.
Yeah.
Okay, Chris, what's your first story?
Well, I've got a political story here based on
Can't wait.
some information from ABC News and Ipsos. A lot of news outlets and pollsters, they team up nowadays for surveys and polls. And ABC News and Ipsos did a survey together.
ABC News and who?
Ipsos, IPSOS.
Okay.
It may be Ipsos.
They did a survey of Americans, and they found what, Chris?
Yes, that voters side with Trump. They think he's better at handling some of America's biggest issues.
Okay.
He's better than Joe Biden by several points, depending on the issue. The economy is clearly the number one issue in this election, according to ABC News and Ipsos. And they found that Trump leads Joe Biden when it comes to him being better at handling the economy. Certainly, immigration is also a big issue, too, facing Joe Biden in his reelection effort against former President Donald Trump. Speaking of Trump, 80% of Trump supporters say they would back him if he is convicted of a crime.
Even if he's convicted.
Even if he is convicted of a crime. That is an interesting finding, given the fact that all four networks right now on our television screen have been covering the Trump trial, which is back in court today in New York. This is the so-called hush money trial.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting because on it. Let's put the court cases aside, okay, for just a minute. If you just what you're saying, this is ABC News.
Yes.
And they do a survey. They say how many Americans were surveyed? I like to see at least 1,000.
I just closed out because I posted the link here in a
uh,
second. Yes. Well, they found 88% of voters placed the economy at the top. Let me find the number for you. It's down
Yeah,
at the
I'm just
bottom.
curious. So the top two, you got it?
Yes.
Okay, what is that?
2,260 American adults polled April 25th through the 30th for this poll.
Okay, and so they found that this is a survey of 2,000 plus American. I also like to see likely voters, but anyway, we'll just take that.
Right.
We'll take that survey for what it's worth. But they, on the issue of the economy, when asked, do you think Biden or Trump is better on the economy, they go Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Because they were much better off under his administration than they have been under Joe.
Right. I saw a meme or whatever, a comic strip the other day, and it said, raise your hand if you're better off now than you were 4 years ago, other than illegal immigrants.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I thought it was pretty funny.
And that is high up on the list of issues
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah. So is that the second issue that people were surveyed on?
Yes.
Okay. So, and they favored Trump over Biden on that issue, right?
Yes.
Okay. So listen, the former president has a lot. The issues that people care about when they go to the polls and vote, the side issues like his trials and so forth, notwithstanding or withstanding?
Either one.
Okay. But anyway, because people don't know the difference, do they?
Irregardless
They really don't.
of what they think.
Regardless.
Irregardless.
Put all those issues on the side. Just compare them. Then Trump's at this point now. May is a long way from November. Okay?
Yes.
But
Yes.
but the issues that people are voting on, if those two matters, Trump has the has the advantage.
Yes.
Right. All right.
And the way this sometimes works with people, when people are hurting. Now, if people are doing pretty well, then some of these other issues can kind of bubble up to the surface and become important. But when people are hurting like they are economically, they are. I think, I don't know what the percentage is, but the vast majority of them are going to go, I don't care what the Republicans and Democrats are fighting about. I don't care if some Democrat.
I care about the price of groceries.
Yes. I don't care if some Democrat attorney general or
right.
district attorney is trying to get their political enemy. I care about feeding my family and getting to work.
And good jobs.
And good jobs. And those kinds of issues like Trump's legal problems are going to sink down the list because the two top ones are critically important to people's sense of well-being.
You guys mentioned jobs just a moment ago. On Friday, this past Friday, we got the jobs numbers for April, and it came in far below expectations. Market Watch and some other people that really pay attention to jobs numbers, they thought we were going to see somewhere around 240,000. We got somewhere around 178,000, 175,000 to be in fact. To be exact.
New jobs?
Of new jobs. So it's a jobs report that came in way below expectations.
Only when I hear these jobs numbers reported every quarter or whatever, I don't know when.
They come out once a month on the first Friday.
Once a month. Do they include jobs lost? I mean, do they?
I don't think it's
do
net.
You're
asking if it's net?
Yeah. Do they add them up and then subtract the ones that lost and then give you the number, or is it just added?
Yeah,
just
the
jobs?
Government number that comes out on Friday is like jobs added, and then they mentioned that at the bottom whether or not there have been revisions.
To me, that's not an accurate picture. I don't care if it's a Republican or a Democrat in the White House. That's not an accurate picture. An accurate picture is jobs plus and minus, and then tell me what the figure is.
Those are probably like separate released. What I'm saying is there's probably, I put it as gross and net. I'm sure that's not the way they word it. But new jobs added, there's probably net gain or loss. Because some jobs, remember, it used to be this way. Some jobs would be seasonal. So you'd have jobs added. Remember back when teenagers got jobs in the summer?
Yeah, I remember that.
Way back when?
Those days.
So you'd have to account for that uptick in the jobs that teenagers were getting. They're not full-time jobs, they're part-time jobs. So I'm sure all that is is on a list somewhere.
Mhm.
I just think also people have a general overall sense of the economy, and I guess you could give it mixed reviews. The stock market up until recently has done really well. Um, but I don't know. I think the economy overall works in Trump's favor at this point going into November.
Yeah.
But there are various reasons. Pretty much, we've mentioned this before. Pretty much right now, the U.S. You got your 40% are going to vote blue all day, every day, and they don't care if Satan himself is running. Okay.
Like he did in 2020.
Well, I didn't say that. You said that.
Joking,
Yeah,
folks.
he's joking. People. He's joking.
That's pretty good. I thought that was pretty
Yeah.
good.
So now, also, same is true pretty much of 40% of the other states that are red. They're going to vote red, and so you've got that 20% of the states, or the so-called swing states, may not even be that higher percentage, that are going to decide the presidential election, and those states. What if you had to list those states? What would you say?
Swing states?
The
yeah.
battleground states?
Yeah,
battleground.
swing states.
Well, it's
What
not,
would you-
Florida's not anymore, but I would say Virginia,
Hold
Pennsylvania.
on, let me count them here.
Okay,
Ready? I got 10 fingers. You gonna be
All right.
done?
I think so.
Okay, what now? Go.
So Virginia,
Uh-huh.
Pennsylvania,
I'd agree with
Michigan,
that.
which is so-so. Wisconsin.
Okay. Yeah.
I would say Arizona.
Okay.
Let's see.
Colorado's blue, aren't they?
Colorado's kind of blue. Minnesota sometimes is tossed in there, but they're pretty blue. Ohio used to be kind of a battleground state, but that's kind of red now. So, am I missing anybody?
What about North Carolina and Georgia?
Wall Street
Well,
Journal
that's
has
true.
Wall Street Journal has Nevada as a battleground state.
That's true. That's true.
But
Nevada.
to me,
Or Nevada.
Nevada is kind of like Minnesota. They call it a battleground state, but I don't remember the last time they went red. Did Trump win
I
Minnesota?
think he did in
16?
16.
Okay.
I think he did
He won the Rust Belt states. For sure.
Trump in 16. I don't know if he won Minnesota.
Let me look it up.
Trump won Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, and I'm talking about by a total number of like 50,000 votes or
Right.
something like that. He barely eked it out.
Yeah.
And before that though, Republicans had not won Pennsylvania since Bush or something
Yeah.
like that. It's been a long time.
But anyway, those are states that can be close. So you can throw
Yeah.
Nevada, and Minnesota in there. Again, I'm not sure about Ohio, but there's a good point on North Carolina and Georgia.
Yeah, I mean, I never in my lifetime would have thought I'd have said Georgia's a swing state.
Well, there's
Right.
two Georgias, Atlanta and the rest of the state.
Right.
It's getting
That's
that
true.
well, and that's the way it is with a lot of states now. You got Chicago and then normal people
Yeah.
in Illinois.
San Francisco and
You got
Northern
you got
California. Yeah.
Philadelphia.
Hillary
and-
Clinton won Minnesota, by the way, but just barely.
Okay.
Oh, she did. But Trump won Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin.
Yeah, he won Michigan.
He lost Nevada.
I would say 10 years ago, Colorado would have been a swing state. But you're right. They're purple, trending blue.
Yeah.
They got all the liberal wackadoodles that have moved in from California.
Right.
Yeah.
Go along with the pot smokers.
Yes.
Uh,
No, that's true.
yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
So you got that going on. But now on the other side of the ledger for the Republicans, they pretty well solidified Ohio and Florida now
Florida.
as red states, and those are two big states as far as the electoral college votes go. So
But now Senator Rick Scott is in a tough battle, isn't he?
in Florida,
In Florida.
Florida's hasn't always been red. Florida's been purple.
Yeah.
They've been going back and forth, but so he's
I think Rick Scott only won by a very narrow margin, and there's a Democrat, a lady running against him.
I've seen her ads.
Yeah,
yeah.
and so I think she's hoping to steal that.
But now I will say this: Governor Ron DeSantis and the Republican Party in Florida in the last 2 years have been registering so that there are so many more now registered Republicans, for what that's worth,
Right.
in Florida than there were 2 years ago or
Yeah.
4 years ago. And you've had a lot of people move from the north to Florida, not only for the weather but for the economy.
Yeah.
And they're I don't think they're moving to vote blue. They want to vote red.
Yeah.
In the state of Florida. But anyway, it's going to be the presidential election will be decided by 7-8 states or so.
Yeah. Hopefully before 4 a.m.
Well,
I mean, we'll be here
Or-
regardless. If the Lord tarries, we'll be here. But,
right, right.
Yeah. Keeping it with politics for a minute, this sounds like a Babylon Bee story. More stories and headlines these days sound like satirical things when they're not. I'll share this link on our Facebook page. Biden campaign touts keeping president's speeches shorter. Biden 2024 is all about what they're saying, quality over quantity. In other words, they're going to try to have him say less to limit the amount of errors and mistakes he's going to do, like saying pause during a speech when he's reading from the teleprompter.
I think that's a wise decision.
But they're not going to get either. They're not going to get quantity, but they're not going to get quality either.
Yeah.
So that's
Yes.
just.
Why, Ed? You sound.
Do I sound cynical today?
Well, yeah, a little bit.
Do I sound like I've been
You don't think
envenomated?
This is this is
All
not
right.
your first election, is it?
You're listening to the radio program Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. Today's Issues. Tim, Ed, and Chris. Next story, Chris.
Well, I do have some audio from the Trump campaign on
Really?
the announcement that the Biden campaign is going to limit Joe's speeches. Here now is Caroline Levitt, which is the spokeswoman for Trump 2024.
Okay.
We're going to do clip 6.
No. Can you blame them? Every time Joe Biden goes on the campaign trail, he's stumbling over his words. He's berated by angry protesters. Then he shuffles off the stage after a 15-minute incoherent speech. Much different than what we see on the campaign trail with President Trump. Enthusiasm everywhere we go, whether it's Midtown Manhattan, Michigan, or Miami, where President Trump was at the F1 race yesterday. Good luck to Joe Biden. He's only going to get worse.
I've never seen it. I've not heard her. Who's she?
Caroline Levitt.
She new?
Well, I think this is the first time I've had her clip on the show. She
Have
was
you
on
heard-
Fox and Friends this morning.
Have you heard of her?
No.
So she's a new spokesperson for President Trump. Okay.
The 2024 campaign.
Okay. Interesting. She sounded pretty bright, sharp right there.
Yeah, but to circle back,
You circle
Saki,
back, Chris.
to circle back to something we talked about at the beginning of the show, 80% of Trump voters say they would support him even if he's convicted of a crime. That means there's 20% of people out there he's going to have to try to sweet talk. So
Yeah.
while this may seem like a sure thing for Donald Trump, as you mentioned here, there's a long way to go between now and November.
Is he in court today?
He is.
I bet he's getting sick and tired of that because
It's the third week of testimony just for this case.
who's up today?
I'm not sure. Let me look and see if I can find you an AP story.
Well, anyway,
Well, I do know that President Trump has been fined $10,000 already for violating the gag order, and the judge is threatening jail time, which is just outrageous.
Yeah.
I don't know. To me, it seems blatantly unconstitutional to try to prevent the president when he's outside the courtroom. Now, inside the courtroom, you can fine him or
Right,
whatever
right.
if he's talking out loud and interrupting the proceedings. But it is a campaign. You cannot tell a president he can't comment on this when everyone in the world is commenting it when he's outside the courtroom.
yeah. You mean on his court case?
Yeah, on his court case. I just don't.
I agree with that. I think where Trump gets into trouble, and I'm not saying it's right even so, but he calls people deranged, and
Right.
and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's. I'm just saying that he is Trump's sort of saying, "Watch this."
Yeah.
You know, I'll do this and see what they do. But I agree with you. He pretty much ought to be able to free to say whatever he wants to say. It's America, isn't it?
It's America.
It's America.
But if this judge puts him in jail, I don't even know if he can.
Now, but calling people names is different than threatening them.
Right.
That's
So, anyway. All right, we shall return momentarily with more of today's issues on the American Family Radio Network.
It's my turn.
Here is your host for My Turn, Don Wildman.
In the book of Psalms, we read these words: If I forget you, O Jerusalem, let my right hand wither. Let my tongue cleave to the roof of my mouth, if I do not remember you, if I do not set Jerusalem above my highest joy. Jerusalem is located some 33 miles east of the Mediterranean Sea and some 14 miles west of the Dead Sea. For some 25 to 30 centuries, it has been a holy city. Today, it is the center of three major religions: Judaism, Islam, and Christianity. It is a city well known to millions of Bible readers. David and Solomon lived in this city. So did Isaiah and Jeremiah, and a host of other Old Testament figures. It was in this city that Stephen became the first Christian martyr. In this city also James, the brother of John, died at the hands of Herod Agrippa I about A.D. 44. Agrippa was the grandson of Herod the Great. The city is literally covered with biblical landmarks. Some are authentic. Some are marked only by legend and tradition. The Dome of the Rock, a Muslim mosque, is a distinguishing mark in the city. It is constructed on the site of Solomon's temple and over the rock where Abraham is supposed to have offered Isaac as a sacrifice. Always in Scripture, those who went to the city were going up to Jerusalem. This is true for two reasons. The city is located on hills at a height of some 2,600 feet above sea level. So the journey was a physical trip up. But more than this, Jerusalem was considered the most holy city in the world. So then it was also a spiritual journey up to the city. The best view of the city is offered from the Mount of Olives. Standing atop this mountain and looking across the Kidron Valley to the city, one can see reminders of centuries of biblical history. In fact, every place associated with the last week in the life of Christ is visible from the Mount of Olives. Jesus came to this city often. His first visit was as a baby, perhaps slightly more than a month old. His last visit was probably just prior to his ascension. In the temple courtyard, located immediately east of the present Dome of the Rock, he taught the crowds. In Jerusalem, he ate the Last Supper with his disciples. It was here that he was arrested, tried, and crucified. And it was here that he arose from the dead. The name of the city means City of Peace. It is misleading, for throughout its history, the city has known very little peace. It has been destroyed and rebuilt many times. Perhaps the most famous destruction was that by Titus, the Roman general, in A.D. 70. That destruction was prophesied by Jesus some 40 years earlier. Pilgrims by the multitude still flock to this city. They come from every race and every nation. Many of them have one thing in common. They are followers of the Christ who visited here, and they have come to see places made universally famous by the one they follow.
This has been My Turn with Don Wildman, a production of the American Family Association.
One thing I ask from the Lord, this only do I seek, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to gaze on the beauty of the Lord and to seek him in his temple. Psalm 27:4.
American Family Radio. This is Today's Issues. Email your comments to comments@afr.net. Past broadcasts of Today's Issues are available for listening and viewing in the archive at afr.net. Now, back to more of Today's Issues.
I got to finish this text. So would you
Oh,
bring us
yes.
back?
Well, folks, welcome back. It's
Yeah.
today's
Sorry about that.
issues. Okay. It's Today's Issues on May 6th, 2024. Ed Vitagliano, Tim Wildman, Chris Woodward. Chris, next story.
Well, the contract for the Chicago Teachers Union is coming up, and so now's the time in which the union comes out with their demands, and the school is going to try to come back with their thoughts on that, and hopefully they will reach some sort of a decision before.
Let me just.
I don't hope they do.
Let me just
Well, they need to, based on what I'm going to share here.
I think they should get what they are asking for because those teachers' unions exist for the sole purpose of helping students learn in the classroom.
Yeah.
Yes.
So tell us what they're wanting.
Well,
in
Okay,
Chicago.
and let me just tell folks this
Okay.
just before you get into that,
Okay.
because I'm the one that sent that story around.
Yes.
Because we don't have any listeners in Chicago listening
Right.
on us, so most people are going, what do I care about
Right.
what the Chicago Teachers Union wants in their negotiations? What reason I wanted to bring this story up is number one, these teachers unions, the national, they're so far left they've left the country.
Right.
Okay, so and number two is, and we're going to prove that in just a minute.
Yes.
Number two is I don't know where they think the money's coming from
Right.
to meet all their demands. Okay, and this is happening with teachers unions, especially in big cities across America. But go ahead. This is so the Chicago By the way, their president. What's her
Yes.
name? Do you have her name?
Stacey Davis Gates.
Yeah. Guess where Stacy? Guess where Miss Gates sends her child?
That would be a private school.
Yes, a private Catholic school.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, because so you got you can't write this.
Well-
you can't make this up. The teachers union president
Mhm.
in Chicago for public schools sends her kid to a private school.
Yes. And she was labeled a, quote, hypocrite by Daily Mail in a story I'm about to read
Yeah,
from.
go ahead.
Okay, so the union president, again, Stacey Davis Gates, says the proposed contract for 2024 to 2028 will cost $50 billion with a B and 3 cents. They are demanding a whole host of things here.
Give me a list of their demands.
Well,
Chris.
they want to boost salaries up to around $95,000, which, if you're curious, the median income in the United States $37,585.
Wait, that's the medium. What we pay for teachers?
The median income period in the United States is
Oh.
about 38 grand.
That's
it- 2-year-old
poverty.
data.
That's poverty level.
It is. Well, you know,
You mean for a couple?
I
know it's
searched.
just-
Probably
is
an
a-
individual.
Yeah, I
Okay,
searched
okay.
median income in the United States of America. But
Okay,
anyway,
go ahead.
this lady wants teachers to be paid $95,000. They're also wanting schools to lower standards, making it easier for teachers in the classroom, so that way
They're
kids
fighting.
can progress. Yes,
They're fighting for
Yes.
lower standards.
they sure are.
This is
More
our
pay, less
education-
standards.
Our race to the bottom.
Yes, and they're also wanting to create something called they're letting schools enact trauma closures. In other words, they may bring back Zoom stuff depending on some sort of
Yeah.
situation that a school
And
or
they
a
want the
student may be
right
in.
to decide when that happens.
Yes, which is very vague. It could happen on a whim. And for anybody curious, Chicago already spends far more on students than the national average. So this will only make
Yeah. Does it say how much they spend per student?
yes, they spend more than $21,000 per student, far above the national average of $14,347 per the
And
Census
and
Bureau.
their kids can't read.
Right. And you're not making that up because Fred posted a story a few months ago. It was an AP story on AFN. I have no doubt we talked about it on this show. Chicago was one of the places where kids were found to be they were doing very poorly in the fields of math and reading. And that's after you spend all this money on
20
teachers.
grand a year?
More than
for a
21
student?
grand.
Wow. Huh?
So
And-
what else? What else are they asking for?
Oh, they want you to pay for abortions.
Yes.
They want standards lowered.
Lower.
They want standards lower.
And there was one other thing too that affects
They want to
the quality of the education.
Well, they want to fund migrant housing and fully fund abortions for the teachers.
Right, which has nothing to do with reading, writing, arithmetic.
No.
That's why I say they're just a far lefty cause. And $20,000, over $20,000 annually per student, and they rank very, very, very low on reading skills in particular, but others too. It's just they want to get, and what they're wanting to do. They're wanting to lower the standards so that they appear to be doing better than they are.
yes.
See what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yes.
It's kind of like if you took me out to the basketball goal and I said, hey, why don't you? I can't dunk on this 10-foot goal. Can you bring it down to 6? and then you can write what a great basketball player I am.
Yeah. Oh,
Huh?
you can dunk? Yes,
Yeah,
I
I'm
can.
a 6-foot
I
goal.
can dunk. Well, you don't tell them that.
Right. So anyway, the teachers' unions, for the most part, are they're way out there as far in left field, and I don't know where this teachers' union thinks they're going to find. The city of Chicago is going to find $50-something billion to do what they're wanting to do. Their tax base is leaving.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. If you can afford it, if you live in Chicago and you want to get out of there, you can move to Zion, Illinois. You can go to Gurnee, where Six Flags is. You can go right across the state line to places like Portage, Indiana, and Valparaiso, and have a much better quality of life.
Yeah. Next story.
All right. In recent days, Arkansas Governor Sarah Sanders became the first female governor to say, we're not going to follow the Title IX changes President Biden.
Good for her.
Yes. She made headlines.
Now, explain what the Title IX changes are that the Biden administration
Right.
has issued.
In the early 1970s, we passed legislation that became law, and it's been referred to as Title IX ever since. And basically, it provides for women in a school setting to get equal access to all kinds of things, including educational programs and activities. And this is for places that receive, quote, federal financial assistance. The Biden administration, within the last couple of weeks, delivered on a campaign promise to change Title IX, and the Biden administration wants to redefine the word sex in Title IX, which we've long understood as male or female. The Biden administration wants to redefine the word sex to include sexual orientation and gender identity. Therefore, the Biden administration expects schools starting this August 1st to allow for males in locker rooms and bathrooms and even on sporting events, although they would tell you they're not moving in that direction yet, but a number of people say they are, because the rule says this is for educational programs or activities. What are sporting events other than activities? So Arkansas Governor Sarah Sanders last week became the first female governor to say, we're not going to do this. And if you, Mr. Biden, say we're not going to send you money for this or that, I'm going to take you to court.
Right.
So we got some reaction.
There's a number. Do you have the list of states?
Oh, it's about
it's 9, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say a dozen.
That are, well, and of course we had Governor DeSantis last week.
Right. Texas is one, Indiana's one, Arkansas now. I'm sure we're going to be joining a
Governor
coalition,
DeSantis
if not
says,
already.
quote, we're not going to comply, end of quote. And good for him and good for Governor Sanders.
Yes.
And all these states, and I'm sure there'll be more joining their number.
So West Virginia, Tennessee, Indiana, Kentucky, Ohio, Virginia are joining Alabama, Florida, Georgia, South Carolina.
And Arkansas.
And now
Arkansas.
Is Arkansas suing as well?
Yeah, well, she said
they
we will
sue
sue if you withhold federal funding.
Right.
Now,
Yeah, let me just lay it out there as plainly as I can. Simple.
Mhm.
What Biden is doing, people, is he's using federal dollars that are supposed to go to states and always has gone to states to support women's and girls' sports and athletics and things of that nature, right? And other things too, but basically to give them an opportunity. What he's saying is, here's what Biden's saying is, if you, a state, do not recognize transgendered athletes, okay, and I'll rephrase it for you in the language you will understand. If you states don't let dudes play women's sports and get in the showers with the girls and the changing rooms, we're going to withhold this federal money from you until you comply. We're going to twist your arm. We're going to try to twist your arm to make sure that you let boys dunk on girls in the basketball game. Okay? We're seeing what's happening with this. Everybody listening to me knows that's crazy.
Mhm.
Okay? That's girls and boys are different and have been since God made us. And so girls shouldn't have to compete against guys in athletics. Everybody knows this.
Mhm.
But Biden wants to force, by using federal tax dollars as a leverage, to try to force states to do this. And these states that Ed just listed and you just talked about are saying, we're not going to do it. with this. We're not going to participate with this coercion.
Can I give? I know you still got more on this story.
Yeah.
Let me just talk about a little bit of the absurdity of what we're talking about, because over the weekend on Saturday. Now, admittedly, this was Division III college. This was a
Small
track
school.
and field event called the Liberty League Championship.
Okay.
And so transgender college runner Sadie Schreiner, so trans woman means a man,
it's a
dude.
guy. Yeah.
It's a guy. He won the 400, so he's running against real women. He won the 400 meters and the 200 meters. And this is what the story says here. Both times, his times that he won the races, both times would have been last in the men's races at the meet, but they were school records in the women's category. So this demonstrates part of the difference between men and women. So this dude running as a woman, his times would have been last if he'd been running against men, but because he was running against other women, he set 2 school records.
Listen, you're going to have to vote Biden out if you're going to stop this wacky, crazy,
Yes.
nutty stuff. Now, it can be stopped in court too, but Biden used to be I would call him a normal liberal, okay, back in his days as in the Senate, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was liberal, but he was
Right.
at least a rational person for the most part. What's happened is he got elected, and his administration has been turned over to the far left crazies,
Yes.
and he doesn't even know what's going on half the time. Biden, he certainly doesn't. He doesn't. What I'm saying is, he doesn't have meetings going, I agree with that. I don't
Right.
agree with that. I don't agree with that. They just run amok, do what they want to, because he's not. Well, he may agree with them, but he's not alert or consensual, of sound mind enough to know what's going on with
Right.
all his agencies. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Now,
So-
I cut you off
No.
there. So what do you have some sound on this
We do have
issue?
some sound here. One of the ladies, the former athlete turned activist that has been partnering with Riley Gaines, well-known swimmer from the University of
She was
Kentucky.
on our show last week.
She
right?
was. The lady that's been traveling the country with her to speak out about dudes and women's sports is a lady named Paula Scanlon. She was a swimmer at the University of Pennsylvania, home to Will Thomas. Will wants to go by a woman's name, and I'm not going to use it because his mama named him Will. And Paula Scanlon is a former UPenn swimmer, and I reached out to her to get reaction to Governor Sarah Sanders there in Arkansas, becoming the first female governor to challenge these Title IX rules. Clip 8.
I'm honestly shocked it's taken this long to have a woman governor do this. But obviously being the first is a really amazing accomplishment. I'm just like, it's super exciting when I heard the news. I mean, Riley texted me in the middle of the night to let me know that it was happening. And so it was just really exciting news for all of us, especially at IWV with all the great work we're doing with helping pass legislation in other states on this issue as well. So, again, I hope more female governors follow her. I hope male governors also follow in her footsteps. This is really just so important for every woman, and especially with the Biden administration putting these new Title IX rules in. It is so important that we do this.
Another thing that we talked about this before. These 3-letter agencies, federal agencies, that are not accountable to anybody, seemingly. I mean, they may have, for example, right here, who's going to administrate this rule change by Biden?
Probably the Department of Education.
It is. And they
Okay,
want
here-
it in place by August
Okay, here we
1st.
go. So, you see what I'm talking about? Instead of the United States Congress passing a law having to do with this Title IX, while they may pass a law that I disagree with, at least they're going through the right process.
Right.
Where the representatives of the people are speaking. In this case, you have a federal agency. They're not. They may. You said it's going to be Department of Education.
It is, which is an executive branch level administration.
Okay, so the Department of Education, run by a bunch of far lefties, they're gonna. They're the ones who say, "Well, states, you want your money? You need to comply with what we say do. And so they're removed. They're removed from accountability.
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying? The only accountability you would have is if Biden is unelected, or is that the right way to say it? Is loses, and then you would have a change at the Department of Education at top level.
Yes.
Like Betsy, not Betsy. What was it? Was it Betsy DeVos?
Mhm.
Like she
Under
was
Trump.
for Trump.
Mhm.
She was the Department of Education secretary.
Secretary, yes.
Yeah.
So anyway, but I did these agencies, it's kind of the fourth branch of government. We all know, the Department of Education, the FBI, and you can go down to the Department of
Federal Election Commission, all
Department
these.
of Agriculture. All these agencies, they sort of run their own little.
EPA.
They run their own little kingdoms.
Yes.
Right.
In the realm of healthcare, when Biden first was really pushing jabs for people in the healthcare sector, he said if you're getting money, if your hospital is getting money from Medicare or Medicaid, you have to get the jab. And the Supreme Court was like, okay,
Right. Anyway, you're listening to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. Tim, Ed, and Chris. Hey, I wanted to bring up one thing here real quick before you move on to the next story. Did you see where there's a story on Fox today? It says U.S. Air Force Secretary Kendall flies in cockpit of plane controlled by AI.
I saw that over the weekend.
I can tell you something as creepy, in my opinion, as that.
All right.
There is a new song out from Randy Travis, country singer, Forever and Ever Amen. I'm not going to try to sing it. But it is done by AI. He can't sing anymore due to some health conditions that he's experienced in recent years. And so he and some other people wrote a song, and they had artificial intelligence sing his song in his voice. I heard it on the radio today. It sounds just like him, but it's not. It's a robot singing in the style of Randy Travis.
Well,
And you have artificial intelligence flying planes now.
yeah. Well, I don't know what Tom Cruise is going to do.
In part two?
There's going to be no more Top Gun movies if AI is going to start flying jets.
Well, yeah, there might be a sequel to Top Gun Maverick. Maybe he'll take on AI in that one too.
Well,
the AI is the center. It's part of the plot for the latest Mission Impossible film.
But if you think about this, and I'm getting way out of my depth here in this pool because I don't understand that much about flying, but if you've got a plane, a fighter jet being flown by a computer, is that a fair way to put it? Artificial intelligence?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Really, there's no difference in that and a drone being flown by a computer, really?
Well, the drones, my understanding, the drones are not piloted by humans in a cockpit, but they are controlled by humans at a base. So this is different.
Well,
this is
different
this
than
is a
even that.
computer.
This is a step above.
Yes.
Even controlling a drone from a computer with a individual sitting there, with a joystick,
like with a
whatever.
joystick,
Okay,
right, or
okay.
whatever.
But we're
they're
talking
used.
about.
This is the computer flying everything. Listen, I just pulled up a story. I mentioned this a week or two ago. Pittsburgh-based Aurora Innovation, Inc. plans to begin rolling out its self-driving semis, 18-wheelers, later in the year. The vehicles are equipped with 25 laser radar and camera sensors. The company will haul freight. It's the initiation of this along Interstate 45 between the Dallas and Houston areas.
Yeah.
So these are going to be self-driving. You know, Google has had self-driving cars for I don't know 3 or 4 years, maybe longer.
Yeah.
And you can
Does
see
Tesla do that too?
They have self-driving technology in Teslas, which has been the center of a court case where there was an accident.
Now, listen, I'm the first to admit that there are people on the road who shouldn't be driving. And so I'm thinking, well, self-driving can't be worse than those folks. But we are on the cusp of major changes to the way we do a lot of things. I would guess within 5 years there'll be. Who knows? In our lifetime, Tim, you and I will probably see cars that are self-driving, even when there are people in them.
Yes,
in it.
I would say so.
You get in a car, you program where you want to go, and you could sit back and read a book.
I've thought about that. We've heard about this coming for a few years, and I've thought about. I just don't know. I don't know if Americans are willing to give up the steering wheel.
They'll sell it to you in the name of convenience. You can enjoy the trip along with
I
the
know,
rest of your
but
family.
it's not really that doesn't appeal to me.
Right.
I mean, I like it when I can get in a jet and read a magazine or whatever while I leave the flying to the experts. but so the part about the convenience of just getting in the car, as you say, programming where you want to go and then sit back and relax. I'm just back there. I would be, maybe you'd get over it. I would be anxious going, what if this computer messes up and causes us to have an accident? I at least want to be responsible for my own accident.
Yeah. Well,
you know what I'm saying?
Yes. No, I do. I understand. But think of it. I'm sure they're thinking, so work with me here. This is a science fiction glance into the future, although it's not really science fiction anymore. Can you imagine, let's say 25 years from now, 50 years from now, there are no humans driving vehicles.
Like George Jetson?
Yeah, George Jetson.
Okay.
So all these vehicles, you're on a major interstate in a major city. All these vehicles are being controlled by GPS, satellite, computer, AI, whatever. And you don't have to worry about getting over to get off the interstate and looking over your shoulder and do I have space, because the AI slows everyone down just enough so that your car goes across. And that is what they're envisioning.
Yeah.
I'm hearing It's a Wonderful World. playing in
I tell you what
my
I'm
head
hearing.
right now.
I'm hearing, were you hurt in a self-driving car accident? Call me now, because that's inevitable.
Because we have artificial
I love a
intelligence
good
lawyers.
Fight. Yeah.
I'm sure the experts are saying it can't be any worse than the knuckleheads who are out driving.
I know.
Driving
what do you
drugs
have?
on
So
alcohol.
you have a highway patrolman come up and pull you over, and
No.
does the AI have to show its ID?
No, because they would not break the law.
It'll probably be a robot highway patrolman.
So you would say you would program your car don't go over the speed limit?
Well, there would be no speed limit, because there might be a speed limit, but it's not up to humans to choose.
So how
whether
far away are we?
Oh, I
from
don't know.
Becoming a reality.
That's probably
20 years,
probably a ways.
15,
Maybe
10,
probably.
But I started this story by saying this is the U.S. Air Force.
Mm-hmm.
The U.S. Air
Yes.
Force, and this isn't something that's top secret. This is a big story today. U.S. Air Force Secretary Kendall, that's his name, I guess it's a he, flies in cockpit of plane controlled by AI.
Oh yeah, I think we will have AI controlled jets. Listen,
what's the
my
point
car-
of putting a person in there then?
That's probably just in the testing phase.
Yeah. Well, that's
So
true.
you do have, but we're talking about armed things with missiles.
Yes.
But I'm sure your car is this way when we on Sundays after church, when we go to Granny's house for dinner. Okay, it's my daughter-in-law's grandmother. When I'm backing out, if I'm not paying attention, my car will beep if there's another car coming.
Yes, I like that feature.
It recognizes that there's someone coming.
Ours does that.
There are self-parking vehicles that will park for you if you want to parallel park. You just let the computer handle it.
I would need help in that area because I can't
parallel
park
park either.
I'm from a very small town. We didn't need to
Evanston's
do
high
that.
school.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's crazy land, isn't it?
And it's about here.
Yes.
It is here in many respects. All right. We'll take a short time out. We'll be back with Steve Paisley Jordahl in just a few minutes.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast may not necessarily reflect those of the American Family Association or American Family Radio.
Faith, family,
freedom. American Family Radio.
The Stand is the official online and print publications of the American Family Association, but more than that, it's a hub that connects you with in-depth information about things that can impact you and your family. And it provides biblical encouragement to strengthen your faith and your families. Sign up for a 6-month free trial to the print version and listen to the Stand Radio podcast at afa.net/The Stand.
This is American Family Radio, a listener-supported ministry of the American Family Association.
American Family News, I'm Rusty Pugh. President Biden will speak with Israel's prime minister as the military operation in Rafah appears imminent. Jared Halpern has more from the White House.
President Biden and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu are expected to speak by phone today about the situation in Rafah in southern Gaza. Israeli troops have told about 100,000 Palestinian civilians to leave parts of the city, a sign a ground operation could happen very soon. The president and other senior Biden administration officials have repeatedly voiced concern over an invasion of Rafah without a credible plan to ensure the safety of more than 1 million civilians in the city. President Biden is also having lunch here at the White House with Jordan's King Abdullah. At the White House, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
Anti-Jewish hatred demonstrations continued this past weekend, with some protesters interrupting graduation ceremonies. Speaking about the protests at her school, University of Southern California master's student Sarah Skornstein says the protesters have abused their free speech rights.
USC actually created a free speech zone for these students to be able to go to and politely asked them multiple times, as well as negotiated and had these different ways of approaching these protesters to go to this free speech zone as opposed to being on campus.
Days after one of his former top advisors testified against him, President Trump is back in a New York courtroom for his so-called criminal hush money trial. Fox News legal analyst Greg Jarrett says Alvin Bragg's case is blowing up in his face, and Hope Hicks's testimony on Friday didn't help.
She undermined the prosecution's case when she told the jury that Trump's motive for suppressing salacious stories was to protect his wife, not the campaign. So that is the exact opposite of Alvin Bragg's central theory that Trump's intent was to help his election and therefore he violated campaign laws. No, he didn't. And it corroborates the findings of the feds who said, no crimes were committed here, no campaign finance violations. Bragg has charged Trump with falsifying private business records in 2017. Well, think about that. That's the year after the election. It's factually impossible to unlawfully influence an election after it occurred.
Abortion activists would consider it a prize to amend Florida's constitution for unlimited abortion. But as Charlie Butts reports, pro-lifers are going to put up a considerable fight.
Florida's Supreme Court, in letting the state's heartbeat law go into effect, also allowed Amendment 4 to go on to the November ballot. Florida Right to Life Executive Director Linda Bell tells AFN.
The Florida Supreme Court allowed it to go on the ballot in a 4-3 decision, and shamefully, all 4 men voted to put it on the ballot, even though they admitted that it was ambiguous and vague. One of the justices stated that we're not here to call balls and strikes, and my thought was, no, that's exactly your job. That's what you're there for.
The 3 female judges on the court ruled the amendment language is as clear as mud and is very deceptive. Terms not defined.
It says doesn't interfere with parental notification, but guess what it does do? It removes parental consent, and it doesn't define notification. So you literally have, if passed, an amendment that would allow abortion through all 9 months, including through birth, and children do not need the permission of their parents.
The one tool pro-lifers have in getting it defeated is to tell the truth about what it says and doesn't say, what it will do, but not do. Abortion fanatics are poised to pump millions of dollars into the state to claim victory in order to sustain the abortion industry's cash cow. I'm Charlie Butts.
Police in Pennsylvania say a man almost shot a pastor mid-sermon on Sunday.
Pennsylvania state troopers say a church deacon helped to save his pastor's life at the Jesus Dwelling Place Church in North Braddock near Pittsburgh Sunday, tackling a gunman who pointed a handgun and tried firing right in the middle of the sermon. It's on video, and 26-year-old Bernard Polite is seen aiming at Pastor Glenn Germany, standing near the altar. Deacon Clarence McAllister rushed in and subdued him right after the gun jammed. Police say Polite is mentally unwell, but is charged with crimes including attempted murder. Eben Brown, Fox News.
For American Family News, I'm Rusty Pugh.
The American Family Association's mission is to inform, equip, and activate individuals to strengthen the moral foundations of our culture. We also support the church. Our goal is to be a leading organization in biblical worldview training for cultural transformation. We believe that our ministry, as well as everything in the heavens and on earth, belongs to God, and our role is that of a trusted manager.
Thank you for standing with the American Family Association.
Today's Issues continues on AFR with your host, Tim Wildman, president of the American Family Association.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. Thanks for listening to AFR. This is Monday, May the 6th, 2024. When does summer start? Let me introduce our distinguished colleague here, Steve Paisley Jordahl.
Morning, everybody.
Good morning, Steve. Steve, do you know when summer starts?
The 21st of June. Yeah.
Usually 20 or 20.
My birthday's the first day of spring, 21st of March.
Okay.
So 21st of June would be 3 months. after that.
That's official.
Well, summer starts when it gets hot. I guess that's what you're.
Well, I
counting.
think
It
most
starts in-
people think summer starts at Memorial Day.
Right. Yeah.
Huh?
Right.
Memorial Day and ends Labor Day.
That's when the kids get out of school and you can go on vacation. So I guess that's
Yeah,
what they count.
I think that's pretty much where people think summertime ends. If you're going to break the seasons down in quarters.
Well, I know that in New England, where I grew up, my dad had put a swimming pool in the backyard, and the cover didn't, cause in-ground pool. The cover didn't come off the pool until the week prior to Memorial Day.
Try to get the water.
You had to get the
warmed
water
up?
warm because it was still pretty.
It wasn't
cool.
a heated
it was,
pool.
It was not a heated pool, and then the cover went on after Labor Day. That was it. Because
Is that worth it? Did
Uh,
y'all get a lot of use out of it?
yeah, we got a lot of use on it. You know, friends would come over, people you didn't know or didn't like would pretend to like you.
Do you know what temperature you like to get in the water?
I don't know. I don't remember, but I will say this: in the middle of the summer, off the coast of Massachusetts, New Hampshire, you go in the Atlantic Ocean. It was cold.
It's frigid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Well,
wasn't like down here where the
so my brother
Caribbean.
has a pool, right? So kind of like your friend that has a truck.
Yes.
You just take advantage of them.
Yes.
And
But your brother, that's
my brother,
That's
so
okay.
I feel like I need to help him out by using his pool because he didn't have any kids. So I just want to bring our whole family over
Right.
there, 18 of us. You know what I'm saying? To get so he can feel like he's getting some use out of a pool he's paying
Yeah.
for. He and my
Yeah.
sister-in-law.
Now let me ask you this: when you
Yeah.
do that, do you take your own food over there, or do you?
Yeah, we do
Yeah.
most of the time. He'll offer to grill out in the
Yeah.
summer. We'll do it 5 or 6 times.
Yeah.
But
That's
that's
what the pool's for.
Well, and they're really good about it. It's
Yeah.
it's fun. But and we have a grill. We just
Yeah.
have a big old time.
Yeah.
But the temperature for the water has to be 86, 87
Ooh.
before it's comfortable.
I don't think the water was ever.
That's
that
why I was
warm.
going to ask
Yeah.
you. I bet you in
No.
New England it hardly gets.
You couldn't get in it. You really couldn't get in. I said the cover came off for Memorial Day weekend, but it was very. You couldn't stay
But
in
you
it
know
for very
what?
long. It was still pretty cold.
Am I the only one who notices that kids don't care?
About how
they'll get in
cold
a-
it
If
was?
kids got a pool, they typically, unless you got now some kid will go it's too cold, but usually, you know, anything they don't care.
Kids,
They don't notice the cold
They'll
like
get out-
the adult does.
they'll get out with their teeth chattering. You ever seen it? And
Absolutely.
their lips are blue, and
But
you
they're
say-
still going to play in the pool
Yes.
where the adult goes.
They love what kids love water.
Yeah, well, we stick our feet in when you get
Before
to
we got a pool, the big
Yeah.
thing was my mom begging my mom to turn the sprinkler on so we could run through the sprinkler.
Sprinkler. Yeah, those were the days.
Yeah.
When you could go outside and run the sprinkler without being worried about being abducted.
That's true. That's right.
Now you got to watch them.
Yep.
All right, Steve. Paisley
Hey.
Jordan. By the way, Steve, real quickly, we were talking. Ed and I were talking hockey off the air.
Yeah.
because I was watching Ed's Bruins on Saturday night just to be a good friend.
Yes.
So we could talk.
That's right.
About, but you're a rabid NASCAR fan, right? Or you say
Yes,
rabid?
I don't know if a rabbit. Yeah, I'm a NASCAR fan.
You're a big NASCAR fan.
You've gone to them.
I've been to several.
So yesterday, there was a historical thing happened in NASCAR, right?
It was the closest finish in NASCAR history.
Ricky Bobby?
.001. Ricky Bobby was not involved.
Oh, okay. Who was?
Kyle Larson won the race, and I'm not bringing up the guy. No one remembers who comes in second.
Came in second. I saw the picture of the finish. From the picture, I could not. The blue car, I think, seemed like it might be a hair past, but
you raced 500 miles or whatever? And
Busher.
It comes down to half a second?
No.
A millisecond.
A thousandth of a second.
Oh, wow. But they did determine a winner, right?
They did.
Yeah.
So they have a camera that goes down the line. And there's a little controversy because if you look at the finish line, the painted finish line, it's not exactly straight.
Where was this race?
This was in Kansas.
Okay, like the Kansas Super Speedway in Kansas City?
No, I don't know if
there.
it's Kansas City. It's outside of Kansas City somewhere, yeah.
Yeah, but I've driven by there. It's on the outskirts of Kansas City. Also, the Kentucky Derby this weekend. So, what was your horse you betted on, Ed? You don't bet?
Well, first of all,
You're not a betting man?
Because as I've said on this show many, many times, before I became a Christian, and I did do a little bit of gambling, I was always terrible at it. Could not win a hand of poker. And so when I became a Christian, I realized there was a reason. God did not want me to be a successful gambler before I became a Christian, lest I be tempted to continue.
Think how much better your testimony would be, though.
Yes.
I was a successful gambler, and God saved me from it.
And I gave it all up. Listen, I can't even invest in the stock market. I lose at everything, and that's why I've said I could destroy any company in the world simply by investing in it.
There you go.
All right, Steve, what do you got over there?
First of all, let me say I'm a little rattled right now.
Are you?
I've been being threatened by, and Kimberly Guilfoyle sent me an email from on behalf of the Trump
campaign. She sent them to you too?
Yeah, but I mean,
I think your wife would be the one who threatened.
No, she's saying this. This is what it says. My patience is wearing thin. This can't go on much longer. Senate Republicans need you to verify your voting profile as soon as possible. She's coming after me.
Right.
I don't know. This doesn't feel safe.
No, what you're talking about, most people in our listening audience know exactly what you're talking about. You know what he's talking about.
Yes, I do. Thin.
Okay, now.
Sorry.
I mentioned this last week. I could go to I can't pull up my email right now. My email. If I go back to my office and pull up my email, last time I checked, it was like an hour ago, whenever 15 minutes before we went on the radio, an hour and a half ago. I'll guarantee you I've got 5 emails from Donald Trump, 4 from Laura, 3 from Kimberly Guilfoyle.
Guilfoyle, yeah.
And probably 2 from, I don't know.
Don Jr.'s.
Don Jr.
Yeah.
Eric, he didn't email me at all. I'm beginning to think he doesn't like me. Are you getting any emails from Eric?
I got invited to the Christmas party, but I haven't gotten emails.
Okay.
Got invited to the Christmas party.
but Kimberly Guilfoyle, she's chasing you down right now because what does she say? She's upset at why?
She wants me to verify my voter profile as soon as possible.
Okay.
So if I click on this.
No, it's a trick, Steve.
It is
know
a
that.
trick. Don't do it.
Put my social security number in and my bank account number. That's all we need from you.
No, it might not even be that kind of scam.
Could be a scam.
They just want to get you on a list that they can send out to Republicans to start asking you for money.
Now, are you getting? I'm not. Allison, my wife, she's getting this on her text. I don't get it.
I don't get text messages.
They don't have my text yet.
This is the latest one I got. President Trump's former campaign manager, Kellyanne Conway, has been trying to reach you with an urgent message.
I bet she is.
Out of the 100 Republican voters she's reached out in your community, you're the only one who has yet to review her message.
That's just a lie.
Now, is that a text or an email?
Text.
See, I don't get text.
You're getting bombarded. That would be awful if I was getting bombarded with text.
Would.
Are you getting text?
No.
Okay.
If I just get email.
Emails, I don't mind so much. I can just delete. But if I were getting hit with text all day from the same like you are. How many are you getting a day? Who'd you give your phone number to, Steve?
I don't know how my phone number got out there.
I will say this: our producer, Brent Creeley,
Yeah.
okay, told me last week or the week after, or the week before, he said, block these people who email you. And I thought I'd tried that before. And
Email or text?
No, emails. So you come in, rather than just delete, I go down to, you do the
Wait,
drop
does
down
Brent know how to
menu.
do this?
He showed me how to do it.
All
So
right.
there's a little drop down menu that says junk, and then there are a couple of choices, and it says block this sender. Now, for a while, it was not working. They were somehow circumventing it, but it has started to work. These people, their emails are being
Brent,
blocked.
you can thank Brent
I,
Creeley.
listen, I'm publicly thanking Brent Creeley.
Yeah.
I usually don't listen to what he suggests because most of his recommendations are trash. Okay,
Like the junk mail, like junk email. That's really. I don't think that was called for, Ed. I think Brent tried to help you out there, and now you're. No,
Listen, he's going to get back at me, so
I know,
don't
I know,
feel
I know.
badly.
Okay,
for him.
okay. So anyway, so that works.
It seems to be working.
All right,
for me.
Brent.
He will show you after the.
All right, Brent
after the
Creeley.
show.
Well, Brent, can you tell people how it works so they write it down? That we're talking about if you want to block emails.
Yes, depending on which email software you're using.
Right.
You just go to highlight it, right click on it, and it should be an option that says junk, maybe move to junk, and then it's a sub menu off of that for block sender. And it may take, they'll find different ways around it, but it takes, a couple of times and it's blocked.
I don't think Ed wants to talk to me.
But so you're not gonna respond to Kimberly?
No, I don't think I will.
Yeah.
But I'm with you. If they found out a way to start texting me,
oh God,
I might throw my phone out. I might go back to an answering machine with a landline.
I think we're all used to emails having a lot of. At least I do. I get
spam.
I get
spam a lot.
I literally, of course, my email's public and has been for 25 years, ever since the email started. And I'm guessing I get on average 25 emails an hour.
Yeah.
Is that what you get?
It's several hundred a day. I know that.
Yeah.
I know. I looked down at my phone and I got thousands of unread emails fairly quickly. So
I've seen people. Buddy Smith, who's now Senior Vice President Emeritus, he's semi-retired. We keep trying to drag him back. He's Senior Vice President.
Emeritus.
Yes, emeritus.
Oh,
emeritus. Yeah.
Emeritus.
But I looked at his phone one time in a meeting, and it was right next to me, and he had like 5,000 unread emails. And I said, "Man, can't you just like burn your phone and just like move on to a new one? Because what's your hope of ever getting to those emails?"
You know what I've never done, and I never will? I promise you.
Okay.
I'm not getting emails on my cell phone.
you don't have your email hooked up to your
No,
cell phone?
and I never will.
Okay.
I don't want them. I don't want the temptation of checking my email all day on my cell phone.
Yeah.
And then wearing your poor thumb out.
Trying to write back
in letters you can hardly read.
So the emails that we're getting from you at 11 o'clock on every night, they're
That's
your
from my
computer?
iPad.
Oh, from your iPad. Okay.
That's from my iPad and on my emails. I'm not. To each his own. I'm not. I'm not judging people. If you want to get emails on your cell phone and respond all day every day, go for it. I'm just saying, count me out of that one.
Right.
So I've never signed up for emails on my cell phone. It's a righteous cause, Ed.
It's a righteous cause.
Huh? Do you wish you would have done that way
No,
back then?
to me it's handy. Now, I do not typically check, quote unquote, check my email on my phone. I will, or do something with the emails. I will, like on weekends, it's the quickest way for me to check if someone is from work is emailing me. Sometimes I'll have to edit. Even on the weekend, folks, that's right. I'll have to edit an action alert or something that's going out. And so in that case, I will go to my computer and type. But I do like to know if there's something kind of on an emergency basis that I need to handle.
I don't.
But I don't like go through my
They'll
email
find
on
you.
my phone
They'll find you, Tim.
and delete or anything
Yeah,
like that.
I know. Like I said, to each his own.
Yeah.
But I'm a little bit of a unicorn in that way.
Unicorn. Tim, the
that I've
unicorn.
never gotten email on my cell phone. Steve, what do you got over there besides the paisley shirt on?
I do have one. Let's talk about what's going on in Israel right now. The U.S. has put a hold on armaments shipment to Israel. No one's really talking about why. I just checked with our analyst that we use, Bob McGinnis. He says he's heard the same thing, and the only reason he can fathom that it would be political, so that Joe Biden is probably getting some pressure, or the Biden administration, from the far left of the Democrat Party, saying we can't
Is this true?
Yes. It's being reported by...
Well, then Peter Ducey's going to be on it today with KJP.
It's been reported by several outlets.
She's going to be wanting to, refer him to the Department of Defense.
Axios had the scoop, and this is what they say. It's the first time since October 7th attack that the U.S. has stopped weapons shipment intended for the Israeli military. The incident raises serious concerns inside the Israeli government and sent officials scrambling to understand why the shipment was held. President Biden is facing sharp criticism among Americans who oppose his support of Israel. This is Holocaust Remembrance Day, by the way, in Israel, Sunday into today. And this is what Benjamin Netanyahu said on hearing this and just in general on Holocaust Remembrance Day, cut one.
As the Prime Minister of Israel, the one and only Jewish state, I pledge here today from Jerusalem on this Holocaust Remembrance Day, if Israel is forced to stand alone, Israel will stand alone.
Yeah, it's looking more and more like that could happen.
So here's the thing I want to know the answer to. And the United States Congress authorized money to go to Israel, or did they authorize weaponry, or both?
I think the Congress is
money.
authorized money, and then
Okay.
the Defense Department spends it.
But Israel may buy weaponry,
Yeah.
from the U.S., right? And that's what's being slow rolled is the accusation. In other words, the accusation is that the Biden administration is not giving Israel their weapons that they need.
They stopped the ammunition shipment to Israel last week.
Well, that needs to be that's a big deal.
Yeah.
That needs to be that needs to be answered for. And I don't. Karine Jean-Pierre is, bless her heart, she's not
up to the task.
No, she's not helpful at all. She'll refer us to some agency where, you know what she does? This is the way she operates. She refers you to an agency. These reporters in the White House who ask her a point blank question that she should be able to answer yes or no, or I don't know. She'll refer you to an agency like you hadn't thought about that before.
Right.
But an agency that she knows is not going to give you an answer. You know why? Because the agency is going to say, you're going to have to ask the White House about that. Because we didn't make that decision.
Because it's a policy question.
Right. But she's going to still refer you to, because she doesn't want to answer the questions.
Or is unprepared and can't answer it.
Right.
Which I think
Despite her binder.
50 or
She used to have a binder she could go to find out which agency to refer you to. But,
Still has the binder, but
anyway, this is a big deal. So this needs to be. This story is just breaking, you say?
It 21 hours ago is when it came out. Now, what's going on the ground in Israel, of course, is the Israelis are getting ready to go into Rafah, which is a community. It's a part of the southern part of Gaza, and it's where everybody went, where they funneled all of the refugees down to that part, and of course Hamas went with them and is using them as human shields. Benjamin Netanyahu says there's no way around getting into Rafah to clean out the Hamas part there. So we're telling the Israelis, we're telling the Palestinian people to move. They have a nearby safe space, I guess, where they're telling the people to go. and they've been starting preparations to go into Rafah. But the Palestinians sent rockets over and actually hurt some IDF soldiers. Just the other day.
Killed 3.
Yeah. So it's popping off there, and
so it's shocking, I'm sure, to all of us that Hamas, who people have been shielding politically and in the media from any kind of responsibility here for this war continuing since October 7th. You know, we've said on the air, why doesn't Hamas just say, listen, if we have a ceasefire, we'll release all the hostages. We will lay down our arms to end this terrible war, to keep the Palestinian people from suffering. So we're all shocked to discover that Hamas doesn't appear to want to keep a ceasefire, because otherwise, why did they launch overnight this rocket attack on Sunday that killed 3 Israeli Defense Force soldiers at a checkpoint?
It should be mentioned that it's been quite a while, I read, since the Hamas has released any kind of proof of life of these hostages. So there's no indication
that they're even alive.
They're even alive at this point.
How sad.
If Israel knew that, it would, I think, change the dynamic a little bit there too. So yeah, things still very tense in Israel.
Hey, by the way, who is Trump going to pick for his VP?
Well, he's didn't he say in January that he'd pick somebody? I think now it seems like
he said in January that, quote, "I picked my running mate," end of quote.
But now there's some question about whether I
think maybe he changed his mind.
Yeah.
Because he said he couldn't tell you. Maybe he had picked them, but they hadn't picked him.
Well, right.
Because you got to consent, you know.
Yes.
3 hours ago, the USA Today put an article out titled, "Who would be dumb enough to become Donald Trump's vice president?"
USA Today said
Yes.
that?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to guess right here.
Okay.
Tim Scott.
I
Senator,
agree with that.
You agree with that?
I think that would be a very wise choice.
The senator from South Carolina.
Yeah. I think he's a very smart guy, politically savvy, has conservative values, solid Christian. I think he would accept if Trump offered. People like Kristi Noem, who I thought I would have bet on being in the top 5 maybe 6 months ago.
What happened to her?
Well, she's I think
embroiled.
She's embroiled.
Yeah, she's embroiled.
There's some relationship issues. Am I not right about that? But then her book came out, and this
she shot her dog.
Kerfuffle over the dog she shot in her in a gravel pit just before her kids came home. I don't know why you put that. Why you put that in a book like you're bragging about it?
That's a family secret right there.
Yes,
I know, right?
That's exactly right.
You know, you don't write about that in a book, in my opinion. You agree with that?
No, absolutely, I agree.
Listen, and people who lived on farms and ranches can tell us, listen, sometimes you got to do things you don't like.
Right.
In terms of animals.
Yeah.
But like I said, and like you said, you don't put that in your book.
Right.
In our opinion. Is Kristi Noem.
And her defense is that the dog's dangerous. Okay.
She put in her book, which I haven't read. It just came out, right?
Right.
It's basically her autobiography.
Yeah.
That she put in her book that she had to shoot her dog.
It was a puppy, I think. It was fairly.
It was maybe 18 months old.
Yeah. The dog had bitten people or was aggressive, and she had to go shoot it. And,
I'm just saying, there are people who are, like you said, farmers who would laugh at me for saying this, but I think the appropriate thing is you take the dog to the vet and have if
euthanized
and have the dog euthanized.
No, not if you're on a farm.
Well,
farmer.
I'm sure that's what they're doing. They're laughing.
But you don't write about it.
But you don't write about it. Either way, you don't write.
Because even if it's understandable by a farmer or rancher, the average person in America go, that is.
By the way,
that is wrong.
Yes.
Just to say this, that Tim Scott over the weekend was interviewed, said that Trump did not raise the vice presidential possibility with him when he met with him.
Not a good sign then. Huh?
What do you mean?
Well, he should have asked him by now if he's going to be the candidate. What do you think?
I I don't know.
All right, we'll explore this more tomorrow. What are we going to be doing? Eviscerating?
Envenomated.
Yeah, just don't get envenomated before tomorrow. Be back here.
And my father, your great-grandfather,